New virus discovered that is absolutely wreaking havoc in parts of the world. Is it something that we should be worried about? We're going to talk about that today. Also, we're going to discuss a former CIA agent stating the obvious about someone like Lindsey Graham. He said Lindsey Graham is actually profiting in his bank account from the Ukraine-Russia situation. We've talked about this before. How many congressmen are actually making money off these deals that are going on? I think when we talk about the Trump-Elon thing, which we're going to discuss today, I think the problem is actually not them being enemies. I think that's two alphas trying to figure out what's best. One wants to cut the budget, one wants to secure the nation. Really, the enemy is the Congress. And I think right now they're all looking at this situation as benefiting them because ultimately status quo is what Congress wants. We're going to discuss all that today. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the sewage being dumped in California. Is that green helping the environment? I don't think so. And it's coming from Mexico, and it's all because bad policies with California. Let's discuss this and a few more things. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to themacs. Thank you so very much for being here today. Yes, we are going to talk about the Trump-Elon thing, but before we do, let's talk about a few more other things that we may have missed because our focus has been on their discussion and their way that Republicans are always losing. I mean, it just blows my mind. Seems like everything's going good, and then all of a sudden Republicans could screw it up. But anyways, let's keep on going with these stories. First, let's talk about California. What's happening in California? There's a new story that shows, and again, we talked about this when they were talking about the new deal with Mexico and Canada trying to build new trade deals. But I want to go back to it, and this is still not stopped. 10 million gallons a day is flowing into San Diego from Mexico. Well, you're thinking of water? No. Of raw sewage is coming into San Diego. So San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond said there's approximately 5 to 10 million gallons a day bypassing our treatment plant and going straight in the Tijuana River. It's so bad that hotels in this area are having to close. It's making Navy SEAL members sick that is trying to do their drills in the water. The Imperial beaches that have closed continuously for 3 years and their residents and businesses are suffering all because of the raw sewage coming out of Mexico. He says this is a threat to national security. He said, you know what though? It's because Gavin Newsom. It says in 2020, Gavin Newsom signed a bill that decommissioned the pumps and lifted the flow and allowed for them to bypass right into the river. See, this is what bad government and bad policies do. We're really going to talk about this all the way throughout the video. That government intervention in our life is not actually good. We have raw sewage coming from a third world country getting dumped into America. And it's all because of governmental policies. Now, if that's not bad enough, let's go to what former CIA officer said. This is from Larry Johnson. It says, bank account records show Senator Lindsey Graham is laundering money from the Ukraine war into personal bank accounts. CIA officer says it's significant amounts of money being laundered into his account. Let me say something else about Senator Graham. There will be news coming out in the next couple of months where several senators, along with Lindsey Graham, have been profiting financially, personally, off Ukraine, laundered through Latvia and made into their bank accounts. Now, this is coming from a former CIA operative that knows the ins and outs of secretive things. And he's saying what you're going to see, and the reason they keep pushing for this war is because they are benefiting financially. Now, this is something we've heard and known. I mean, it's kind of like, we know Bill Clinton was on the plane. I mean, we know these things are coming. We've heard this for a long time. But when you start actually seeing the proof of it and hearing the proof of it, that makes all of these spatters and, the situation with Trump-Elon almost really worth nothing. Because what it shows is no matter how much the alphas are fighting, no matter how much they want to help America, the bottom line is Congress and government is the problem. Overall, the situation in California is a Gavin Newsom problem. The situation with Russia-Ukraine, the reason all these people are dying is not just because of land disputes, it's because you keep having these people prognosticate and ag it on. Think about it. If you have a school brawl, pretty much those guys are going to take a few licks and they're going to get out of it. But then you hear the people in the background go, fight, fight, fight. They're pushing them. And it's the enticement. And I think that's what NATO's doing. That's what I think the establishment's doing. I think that's why you saw, before this attack, you saw Lindsey Graham, you saw Mike Pompeo, you saw Blumenthal, and you see all these congressmen, all these senators, BlackRock, all these representatives going to Ukraine, shaking the hands of Zelensky. All they're trying to do is ag him on to keep this war going because of the funding and money that they're getting. So when we talk about what Elon's trying to do with cutting, fund spending, when we talk about what Doge is doing, that's why they're not going to get traction, because your Congress needs to codify those things. It will not happen. Like we talked about, what is 9.8 billion? And to be honest with you, they're going to take that out. You know the no tax on tips? I bet you money. If it comes down to the Senate will take that out of the bill. Or they're going to take a portion out. They're going to rebate it instead of actually making it a cut. Because these people want to steal your money and actually use it for their gain. It is truth. We're starting to hear that truth. You know the bad players in this whole Trump and Elon thing? It's not Trump and Elon. Actually, the big beautiful bill is not perfect. It does not actually benefit everything that Trump wanted. He wanted the cuts too. But Congress is not going to pass those cuts. So he's going to settle. Well, what Elon is saying is we're not going to settle. We need to actually do what we said we were going to do. Remember, Elon lost $130 billion to just basically serve for this 120 days. Yesterday's feud cost him $35 billion more. So Elon's not benefiting from this. But I think he feels betrayed because people like Mike Johnson and all them are now coming against him, because what they're doing is passing a spending bill, passing a bill that keeps the status quo going. So this fight, this problem is actually beneficial to people like Lindsey Graham. It's beneficial to people like Mike Johnson, people like John Thune, people like Tom Tillis, who's just said he wants to take the no tax and tips out. You see how that works? See, if they can cause fighting, and remember, 6 months ago, every conservative was saying, look, this is not going to last, because the whole purpose is that the Democrats, the rhinos, and the establishment are wanting to make a wedge between Trump and Elon, because they know that they were a power duo. There were two alphas, the richest man in the world, the most powerful man in the world, and if they can keep them, if they stay together, a lot will get done. If we make a tangent between them, or we cause a wedge between them, it actually is going to benefit the establishment to keep the status quo there. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing. What the former CIA director is trying to show, though, is this is why the status quo cannot work. Because actually people are benefiting off of it and making money off its people. I mean, basically, we're getting taxed to turn around and send our money to Ukraine or to the WHO or to the UN or whatever you want to say, whatever you want to put in that block, to ultimately see that money flow back and make these people ultra rich. I say this, and I feel like we're talking about a broken record, but we see people like AOC, who is a bartender, has served less than 10 years in Congress and now is a multimillionaire. If she saved every penny she ever made in her life, along with her salaries for the last 8 to 10 years, it would not add up to what her value is. So again, how did she make that money? How did people like Lindsey Graham and all these senators become quasi-millionaires? If they saved every penny they ever made, they wouldn't have enough. It's amazing how both sides in the establishment are both playing this situation with the Trump and Elon. They actually needed to keep exploding. They actually needed to keep on growing, because that spat, that problem, allows them to cover up for the things that they're actually doing. See, while your mind's on Trump and Elon, they're writing spending bills and they're going to passing them. You know, when the 1,100-page Big Beautiful Bill came out, 1,100 pages had to be read in an hour and then passed by Mike Johnson. So you actually think the Republicans were doing any better than the Democrats on this situation? No. They were passing this bill, and actually even Marjorie Taylor Greene came out and stated that, well, to be honest with you, I didn't read the bill, and if I'd have read the part about the AI, being taken over by the government, I probably wouldn't have voted for it. Well, you did, because you listened to the leadership that actually wants to cause problems. So say you have 10 or 15 congressmen, say you have 10 or 15 senators who actually likes Trump and actually wants to see Trump and Elon work it out, who actually wants to see good things, like maybe Rick Scott or Mike Lee, maybe some of them, even Marjorie Taylor Greene. The truth be told, though, is they're still being led astray, because ultimately the leadership is wanting this to keep going. They're wanting status quo. Status quo means market growth. Status quo means senators and congressmen get rich. Status quo means we add to the deficit. Have you ever Googled yourself and literally your family members and information of yours came up? The question always comes to mind is, how much of my public information is actually on the World Wide Web, on the internet, where people could just access it? Not only that, think about all the spam calls you get, all the spam emails you get. I get several a day and have to block and block and block. That's where my friends at Aura, the sponsor of today's video, can help. Aura will help remove your personal information from data brokers and people searching sites to sell your information from and to identity thieves and scammers and more. Aura monitors your personal data, including your social security number, your house number, your phone number. And not only do they check it and monitor it, they will alert you if all of a sudden they find that your information has been compromised. Also, Aura VPN. VPN protects you on the internet, and this was with military-grade protection when it comes to Aura's VPN. It blocks all scam and phishing sites from getting your information in your accounts. What about an antivirus? What about a password manager? 24/7 US-based support. I get all this in one app called Aura. I do not want to leave myself vulnerable. We talk about it all the time. We live in a digitized world. The last thing I want to do is protect my home and not protect myself online. Check out aura.com/themacs today. You will not be sorry that you did. My information is mine. My social is my social. My address is mine. The last thing I want is someone else to have it. You can go to my link below, aura.com/themacs, and get 2 weeks free. That will be enough for you to see how Aura is an asset to you, because you're going to realize how much you're exposed online. Stop leaving yourself vulnerable. Check out Aura today. Link is in the description. Thank you so much, Aura, for sponsoring today's video. That brings me to the deficit. And that kind of brings me into the whole squabble with Trump and Elon. Trump wants to secure the border and make the situation a little bit better. So does the big beautiful bill do several things that are good? Yes, it does do some better tax rebates. We do save some money. We do secure the border. We do cut funding in some facets. Now, it does have a lot of problems. Now, what Elon Musk is saying is, look, all I wanted you to do was codify the spending. If you don't put it in this bill, at least build the whole codification of the Doge cuts. That's all he was wanting, and he didn't get that. And to be honest with you, the 9.4 is just a joke. It's actually a slap in the face. You know that black eye he has? I don't know why he got it, but to be honest with you, it's kind of like what Congress did to him when they said, oh, well, we're going to pass 9.4 billion of the codified cuts that Doge made. So this is what I'm saying now. Elon Musk lost 130 billion plus 35 billion spending with Trump yesterday. So 165 billion dollars. Now listen, 165 billion dollars of lost money of Elon's portfolio and of his worth. And now, again, both parties hates him. He did all that to maybe get the Congress to cut 9.4 billion, along with spending $5 to $10 trillion in the new bill. So you see the anger he has there? Now, I'm not taking up for Trump or Elon. I think both of them have valid points of being right. I think they need to get together and talk amongst themselves. Now, what we don't realize is these are two alphas. If you go back and look at history, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, who were both alphas, who were both founding fathers, I mean, literally almost despised each other. One called a lowlife, one called him a murderer, one called him, a peasant, one called him not a man. I mean, they spatted the same way back in the day, and then ultimately got over it and built the founding fathers' documents and became presidents and became exactly what we wanted in founding fathers. So this is not new. I mean, spatting between two major alphas with two great thought patterns is not a bad thing. It helps us grow together. Now, the thing is, we should not have seen it public, and we should not have seen the words come out. Now, you could be saying that, well, they're playing 4D chess. I really don't believe that. I believe it just kind of grew to a point where it shouldn't have grown. But the thing is, the sacrifices Elon made, the fact that Trump has made sacrifices himself, I think both of them had valid points. I don't think we need to look at either one of them as the enemy. I believe we got free speech really brought into the fact with really Elon. I believe we have better opportunities under Trump. I believe this bill is probably the best one Congress will pass. Honestly, I'm just being honest. I don't agree with it. I think it's a horrible bill. Sadly, I don't think you're going to get anything better through Congress because they're all worthless. I think the enemy is actually Congress. I think the enemy is actually the Senate congressman. I think the enemy, I mean, like, for instance, let's listen to what Mike Lee said. And I like Mike Lee. I'll be honest with you. I think he's one of the better senators. I think him, Ron Johnson, Rand Paul, even Rick Scott, I think some of those guys are some of the best. I don't think they play politics as much as some of the other ones. Won't you listen to what Mike Lee said? Now, this will not go anywhere. I've actually made this comment. He actually did not make this up. This is actually from Warren Buffett. He's wanting to draft a constitutional amendment to oust any member of Congress when the inflation exceeds 3%. Now, what this is this kind of comes from What Warren Buffett said years ago, he said, how you heal a nation is actually you make it where Congress and Senate have to abide to a balanced budget or a 3% growth of GDP. Meaning, you can have some debt, you can see the inflation grow, but you have to control it. If you don't control it, everybody should lose their jobs. So what Mike Lee is kind of doing is writing that up. How much you want to bet it won't even get past 3 or 4 members without it being dead. It actually will not make it out of even the simple meetings. So he's writing it to prove a point to show that he backs Trump and Elon. He's writing it to show that he is on the side of not establishment. But he knows good and well it will never pass, because what these people do is they need inflation. They need you to keep letting them spend. They need you to keep voting them in. See, I'm always like this. Look, I know people say term limits is what we need, and it is. But they're not going to pass their own, it's like them saying they're going to go hang themselves. They're not going to do that. Here's the thing. If we just become wise, common sense voters and know the issues, we would vote them out of office. I mean, like, nothing against Marjorie Taylor Greene, but if I was in her district and she told me that she voted for something that she wished she wouldn't have voted for if she just would have read it, she'd be out. I'm sorry. That's the thing. If we would just become concerned citizens, for instance, I told you, we lost the election here in our local town. I mean, lost handily. And it really became just a race issue. We shouldn't have lost. But you know how many people voted? It was like 28% or 30% of the town voted. And basically because of that, we lost the town. We will lose infrastructure. We will lose businesses that are now supposed to come in here. They will not come anymore because of the Democrat policies. They've already stated that. What was the problem? It was because the concerned citizen didn't have enough concern to vote for the people that should have been in office. They just chose not to vote or just not to care. That's what happens with a lot of these Congress and Senate. They get voted in, and then instead of us actually being concerned to say these people are bad leaders, these people are making money, like Lindsey Graham, there's no way he truly represents the Carolinians that he's supposed to in South Carolina. But they keep voting him in because he's a ranking member. They keep voting him because he's making all these promises. He's done absolutely nothing for those people, but they keep voting him in. And that's what happens with, Cornyn and all these people. They're all snakes in the grass. Our focus should not be on Elon and Trump and them getting mad at each other. They should work it out. But ultimately, the problem is Congress. If I was people like Mike Lee, if I was people like Rand Paul, if I was people like Larry Ellison, if I was people like David Sachs, who has inroads with both of them, the crypto czar, if I was Howard Lutnick, if I was Scott Bassett, some of these people that knows both of these guys really before this election, we would all have a closed-door meeting and we would literally come together and say, okay, this is the problem. They said they wanted to cut and sliver through us, and they did it. Now we've got to come back reunited and even stronger, and let's make the bill better. Let's just make the bill better and finish it up. That's what's got to happen. If this sever keeps on happening, you just cut MAGA in half, and basically the establishment and the Democrats win. We'll lose midterms, we'll lose the presidency, and we won't have a shot at all. I think J.D. Vance is being very smart, staying quiet, because he is the technocracy of the VP. He is the strongest VP we ever had. However, I think Trump's scare is a little frightful of J.D. because J.D. is so tied to Elon, Peter Thiel, and the rest of those guys. So I think J.D. is doing wise by staying quiet, but I do believe behind closed doors he better be meeting and having some conversations. There needs to be a peace agreement. Quit worrying about Russia-Ukraine peace agreement. You better be worried about the American peace agreement that's got to happen. Now to the last story I want to talk about today. This outbreak that's taking place. And I told you about India yesterday. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, you need to go back and watch it. I want you to listen to what was just said. Just in, a dangerous new corona has now been discovered in China and sparks the next pandemic, scientists warn. Now, do you believe it? Doesn't matter if you believe it or not. If they can use it against you, they will. That's what I said about Congress and Senate. That's why I think that they're all going to use this against you. Here's why. Listen to this. This has already come out, and this was shared by several congressmen. So something is happening in India. There's already been deaths in 48 hours. Among that is young people. Young people are dying. We've got to figure out why other people are dying. We've got to figure out why this is caused. We got to figure out, is this why Trump banned people coming in from other countries? Is it because they're worried about the outbreak and they're just not telling us? You already hear that. You hear that going in the back of your mind already. You already see I kid you not, I promise you, I went in Walmart yesterday because I was buying, I can't remember, something for our church. Walked in, and I kid you not, I saw more masks yesterday than I saw last week. Why? Because people are already running with this narrative that there's another outbreak coming. That talk started, and even though you and me say we don't believe it, we don't have to. But if all of a sudden 20 to 30% of people do believe it, that 20 or 30% are the same people that will help vote for the people who will help lock you down and take your freedoms away from talking about it. So one thing I think we should come out of this whole conversation today is this. Your government and Congress hate you. They're not looking out for you, they're looking out for themselves. I.e. the situation with Lindsey Graham, the situation with the Trump and Elon spat. I think ultimately it's going to cause disheaval and upheaval into the Republican Party, which ultimately will help the establishment. Another thing I've realized is this. If the Republican Party cannot win and cannot actually pass bills and actually do good things right now, there's never any other time in history that they will, because you've got one of the most powerful leaders and the most richest men in the world ever working together, and now you've caused a problem between them. You're supposedly, again, have the Congress, you're supposedly having both houses of Congress, actually, and supposedly having the Supreme Court and the judges. And none of that's worked out in our favor. So another thing I've realized is if it does not take place in this time, we are not looking for better roads in America anytime soon. Thirdly, what did I say about this outbreak? Do I believe it's true or not? Doesn't matter what I believe. It does not matter what you believe. Because if you are independent, no harm, no foul. 2020 didn't bother us none because we had all our food that we needed. We homeschool, I worked for myself, and ultimately I didn't change one thing. My kids really had no idea really what was going on. Never wore a mask in their life. However, if you were dependent and you were going to school systems and you were having to go to Walmart every day and you lived in these cities where all these mandates were put in, it affected you. You didn't have to believe in it, but you had to be submissive to the policies. So India and China, both are starting to put in new policies and mandates. You don't believe that won't travel here? Come on, people. Come on. Along with the world war that we can't resolve with Russia, Ukraine, and it will do that because guess what? While we're focused on Trump and Elon and other things will happen, Russia will bomb Zelensky. Russia will bomb Ukraine. And I'm talking about it's going to be hard. I honestly believe within the week, I believe, and I'm just saying this, I hope I'm wrong, I believe Russia will, take parts of Ukraine and decimate it because of what they did last week. So one thing I've learned, all these stories, is again, your independence matters, your freedom matters, your prepping matters, and you staying focused on your own personal movement and self-sustainability and being the best family man you can be, being the best husband you can be, the best father you can be, the best mother you can be, the best spouse you can be, the best, of course, Christian you can be, the best spiritual advisor you can be, the best, wisest person to influence more people you can be. That time is now. Because the Trump and Elon spat shows one thing. They can cause a wedge between the two people that we were hoping to change America. They just caused a wedge between them. Congress has not done anything for us. They've not passed any bills, not arrested anybody, and not stopped spending. So the status quo is still in. And then thirdly, the world is going crazy. With outbreaks or wars, either way, it will impact you more, especially if you're dependent on the system. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today. I don't believe the problem is Trump and Elon. I believe they're two alphas trying to work out and negotiate. Look back in history, a lot of big alphas had the same discussions. The thing is this, though. When you can bring them together, they can be the strongest together. But when they're apart, you've ripped it, MAGA's ripped, and ultimately the establishment wins. Let me know your thoughts today. God bless.